Sign-in process. Open the Trade Control and Export System Traces NT login page. Next, click on the green button and log into Traces. This will take you to the EU login screen. Enter your EU login account details and click Next. Accessing Traces. If accessing Traces for the first time, you will be asked to select the type of organization you are requesting access for. The options include Operator, Authority, or Other Body. You will not be able to create a CHED without completing this step. If you work for a company and you have created Part 1 of a CHED, select Operator. If your company is already listed, simply select your company and submit an authorization request. If your company does not exist in the system, you can create a new operator. In both cases, please ensure that one of the roles of your operator is responsible for the load, or you will not be able to create a CHED. You must have a Northern Ireland or EU address to be responsible for the load. The responsible for the load request needs to be validated by the assigned responsible authority, which is always a border control post. This validation is done only once, and it gives the first access to Traces NT to the operator. An operator with responsible for the load activity can create all types of CHEDs. How to create a CHED? On the home page, click on Certificates and then in the drop-down menu, click on CHED. Next, click the green button, Create New CHED, and then select the relevant CHED box. Next, use the drop-down menu to find and select the relevant product. Alternatively, use the search bar to find your product by entering the name or CN code. You can select one or more commodities from the list by ticking the box CHED on the right and then click Done. If selecting multiple commodities, you must only add additional commodities which require a CHED and enclose the appropriate sets of documentation for each commodity. Description of the dispatched consignment. This section is only available to operators with the designation responsible for the load. Note that all the boxes marked with a red star are mandatory. I1. Consignor Exporter. To complete this section, you can start typing the name or address of the consignor exporter and select a company from the drop-down list. Select a company from the favorite operators list by clicking on the grey star. Insert the details of a private individual by ticking the box Use an unregistered operator, or run an advanced search using corresponding filters to narrow the search. If the operator is not present in the system, you have the option of creating a new operator. To do so, click on Advanced Search. Please note the button Create New Operator will become active after you run a search in the system. This is to ensure that there are no duplicates present. Once the correct match is selected, the name, country, and ISO code of the company are automatically filled inside the box. I6. Consignee Importer. To fill in this box, you follow the same procedures as outlined in section I1. I8. Operator responsible for the consignment. Normally, this box is automatically filled in by the system, which recognizes the operator responsible for the load that has initiated the CHED from their login. If the box doesn't automatically populate, make your selection by following one of the procedures as outlined in the section I1. The option Use an unregistered operator will not be available. I4. Border Control Post. When an operator responsible for the consignment is selected in box I8, the system automatically suggests the border control post that you initially registered against. Alternatively, you can select another border control post by typing the name or address and selecting it from the list. You can also run an advanced search. In Northern Ireland, the border control posts for high-risk food not of animal origin are Belfast, Larne and Warrenpoint. I5. Border Control Post, Control Point, Control Unit Code. This box will be automatically filled in once box I4 is completed. It is worth noting that for high-risk food not of animal origin, it is councils that will do the checks, so the code in box I5 will end with the council's initials. MEA refers to Mid East Antrim. BCC refers to Belfast City Council, and NMD refers to Newry, Mourne and Down. I-9. Accompanying documents. When completing this section, it is vital to ensure all accompanying documentation reflects your CHED entries. For example, ensure you have listed the correct importer, exporter and weights. To attach an accompanying document, click on the button Add Accompanying Document and select the type of document from the drop-down list. You must add at least a scanned copy of the official certificate, also known as Export Health Certificate, if one is needed. You must also add copies of certificates of laboratory analysis and commercial documentation when required. You can find guidance on what the requirements are for particular products and how to access the relevant documents at gov.uk/transition. To complete the section, insert the number, date and country, then click on Apply. It is possible to add several accompanying documents. You can adjust the order as they appear by dragging and dropping the items using the double arrow tab on the left. Only the first document will be shown in the PDF version of the CHED. Please ensure any accompanying documentation is correctly referenced and the official certificate is the top attachment. I-10. Prior notification. In this section, you will need to indicate the date and time of arrival of your consignment at the border control post. A CHED Part 1 must be submitted at least 24 hours before the arrival of your consignment at the border control post. I-7. Place of destination. This section will be filled automatically with the information provided in box I-6. Only click on Border Control Post if your consignment is a transshipment from a third country to a third country. If your consignment will remain in the EU or Northern Ireland, you should not click this field. I-13. Means of transport. To complete this section, click on Add Means of Transport and select the means of transport by which the consignment will arrive at the border control post. Then fill in the mandatory fields. Select the type of transport from the list: rail, road vehicle, airplane or ship. If you are travelling to a Northern Ireland port by ferry, you should select the road vehicle option and you must include any relevant vehicle and trailer numbers. I-14. Country of dispatch. To complete this section, select the last country of dispatch before the consignment entered the EU from the list. I-16. Transport conditions. To complete this section, select the condition of your consignment. You can only select one condition per consignment. If the consignment contains both chilled and ambient products, you will need to add an extra consignment in box I-31. I-18. Certified as or for. To complete this section, select the intended use of your product from the options given. I-20, 22, 23, 24 and 26. Purpose. To complete this section, select the purpose of the document from the options provided. The most common selection will be I-23 for internal market, where the product is brought into the EU for the EU and Northern Ireland market and customers. For information and guidance on the other options in this section, please consult the appropriate border control post. I-31. Description of the consignment. In this section, you can add commodities to the document by clicking the button Add Commodities. To make changes to each of the commodities included in the document, different options are available. Use the button Remove to delete the commodity from the list. Use the button Clear Rows to delete all the details and information provided with the commodity. Each row can also be independently removed by clicking the minus button on the right. Use the button Add Row to add another commodity line. To delete a commodity line, click on the button on the right and then on the bin icon. If you need to change the commodity included in the document, click Modify Commodities. It is important to ensure you specify the package count unit. In box I-31, not all fields are mandatory. However, we recommend you insert as much information as you can in order to help border control post staff. I-35. Declaration. Before submitting the CHED for decision, First read the declaration and then click on Submit for decision. If all boxes and fields have been completed correctly, the message Submitted for Decision will appear. If some of the boxes have been completed incorrectly, an error message will appear at the bottom of the page. You have successfully completed Part 1 of CHED D.